I play fighting games less than I used to. My stream schedule is currently 6 hours of series practice a day, 5 days a week, right? So that's 30 hours a week of fighting games. And sometimes I practice a little bit on the weekends, but not like a ton. And so it's usually like about 60 hours a week of actual fighting game practice, right? And I say I get way more done than I used to, and I used to play like 80 hours a week. I used to do like 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, or 12 hours a day, 7 days a week of fighting games. Because I thought, you know, like I'm playing all these games, I'm playing this game and like all these characters, all these matchups, I just have to constantly spend like so much time doing everything. But that's not how it is. It is so much more important to spend your time efficiently than it is to spend your time. I'm gonna say that again, because I think it actually is something that almost everyone could learn from. It is way more important to spend your time efficiently than it is to spend your time. And that goes for everything that you're trying to work on. You see the same thing in almost every discipline. How many times have you seen someone on Twitch who seems convinced that the way to become successful on Twitch is just to grind? Their mic sucks, their webcam sucks, the game they're playing has like 12 viewers in the entire category, they have no idea how to entertain anyone or keep up a conversation, but they stream like 70 hours a week with no breaks. And they are convinced that that is the path to success. That if they just stream more hours than everybody else, then one day they'll make it to the top. It's not how it works. It's not how it works in fighting games either. You have to spend your time efficiently. Now, if you had asked me this a year ago, I would have agreed. I would have been like, yeah, of course, that's common sense. And I think most of you intuitively agree with it, right? Like, it's something that just sounds right. But there's a difference between hearing it and being like, yeah, that's true, and like believing it. You know what I mean? Like, you have to really understand it and believe it to be true. So before, I you know, intuitively, it's like, yeah, sure. You know, spend your time efficiently. Yeah, everybody knows that, right? But I would still play all day, every day, because I still had this subconscious feeling on the layer below my conscious brain that the more you do, the better. That, yeah, sure, spending your time efficiently, you know, 2 good hours is better than 10 bad hours, right? But what about 10 good hours? That's not how it works. If you do the right things, you should not be able to go for 10 hours. Because if you're practicing effectively and efficiently, that should be tiring, right? It takes energy. 3 good hours of solid practice, you should be tired after that. If you're doing it all day, you're doing something wrong. You're not doing it right. If you can wake up and just grind from sunrise to sunset, you're not doing it right. You need to work harder. And that's, like, this is something that I've come to realize. You might see someone who works all day long, right? Like, maybe you heard me talking a little bit ago about how I used to play like 70 or 80 hours a week. And you might have thought, wow, Twixxie sure is a hard worker. He's so motivated. His work ethic is great. No. That was laziness. I understand that now. Putting in that many hours is being lazy. Because what you're doing is you're trying to substitute hard, quality effort for just volume. It's easy to just turn on the game and push buttons. It's easy. It's a video game. Of course, it's easy to do that. And I had this idea under my brain. If I just did enough of that, I would get to where I wanted to go. But you can see that's not good. That's bad. I shouldn't be proud of the fact that I was working so many hours. I was being lazy. playing golf in college, there would always be guys who would sit at the driving range all day, hit hundreds of balls, literally till their hands bled. And then those of us who did uber focused practice for 30 minutes and a short warm-up would end up winning the practice matches. Yeah, exactly. It's the same thing everywhere, right? It's why I'm so... Because you see this attitude everywhere, especially in the United States, right? It's everywhere in the world, but especially in the United States. This idea that you just have to work harder, right? You just have to do more! If you are not waking up and working until your hands bleed and your eyes can't even see straight, then guess what? You're gonna lose to someone who is doing that. It's not true. It's not true. It's not true. When I say it's not true, I want you to believe me. This is not me making some generic inspirational speech. This is me, someone who spent hundreds of hours getting nowhere in fighting games and broadcasting it. If you've been around for a while, you saw me do this. If you've been subscribed to my stream for a year, you've seen streams and you've probably asked yourself, is he actually getting anything out of this? When you come at like 1 p.m. and I'm labbing Amy, and then you come back at 11 p.m. and I'm still labbing Amy, you probably saw and you were like, is this really the best way for him to spend his time? Or perhaps you thought, wow, how dedicated. Twixxie is really going to be an amazing fighting game player because he's so dedicated. It's the exact opposite. That was me at my laziest, right? So averse, so resistant to working hard that I was willing to put myself through so much just to avoid it, right? Have you guys ever had a situation where you have this one thing to do and it would take like not much time at all, but you are so resistant to doing it that you end up doing like 20 other things just to try to get around it? You end up putting in way more work to avoid it than if you had just done the thing in the first place. The grind is glorified as a good thing. Not only is that a viable path, it's the best path. Not even just the best path, it's the only good one. If you're not grinding, then you're not doing it right. Then you're being lazy. It's the exact opposite. Grinding is lazy. I'm not trying to say you shouldn't work hard at things. You definitely should work hard. Or even that putting a lot of time into something is bad, because that's also not true. When I say the grind, what I am referring to is just relentlessly throwing yourself at something hour after hour after hour to the point of exhaustion, purely because you believe that the more time you put into it, the better you'll be. That's what I mean. Saying, I'm gonna learn this matchup by playing 9 hours in a row of casual matches with this person who plays this character. That's what I mean by the grind, right? Just throwing yourself onto the altar of hard work and hoping that at the other end of it, after you've been sacrificed, you will have gained insight. Even though you spend all that time and all that effort, you're not engaged in the way that you would be if you were doing focused practice. And that kind of practice is much harder to do. It's much harder to do, which is why we avoid it. It's why I avoided it. It's because it's hard. When I look at a character in training mode and I'm like, how do I play neutral against this character? That's a hard question to answer. It takes a lot of thinking and a lot of humming and hawing and a lot of effort to come to a conclusion about that. It's much easier to go through a character's move list one by one and just list all the numbers. And it takes longer. And it makes me feel good because I feel like I'm getting somewhere, right? I feel like I'm doing something. A real dedicated, right? I'm a true heart of a champion. Look at me playing all day. Don't get pulled into that kind of mentality. It's what I said before, right? You are playing in a way that is sustainable for 10 hours. Then you're not putting in enough effort. You know, the specific number will vary, sure, right? Like, I do 6 hours a day, which is still a lot. Still a lot. 6 hours a day of fighting games? is a lot of fighting games. It's more than most people, even more than most competitors. But it's not absurd. It's not excessive. And by the end of those 6 hours, I feel very tired mentally. Okay, I guess that's the end of my little soapbox spiel. I just wanted to share that because it's something that, you know, I have very personal experience with, right? I am a victim of the grind mentality.